You wake up every morning with the same sinking feeling. Not panic, not dread, just hollowness. You go through the motions, check your phone, brush your teeth, dress your body like a mannequin playing a role. You step into traffic, into meetings, into small talk, into obligations, and something inside you whispers, is this it? And yet you keep going, because that's what you were taught to do. Keep going, keep producing, keep performing, keep pretending. But inside, something is cracking, because the soul was never meant to be anesthetized. And that is exactly what modern life has become, a beautiful, digital, sanitized anesthesia. And the question no one wants to ask is this: what if we are not thriving, but sleepwalking? We have everything we were promised would make us happy: comfort, convenience, connectivity. We can summon food, friends, dopamine, even validation with the tap of a screen. We are more stimulated than ever and more starved than ever, because somewhere along the line we stopped living and started consuming. But the soul cannot be fed by content. It cannot be moved by likes. It cannot be fulfilled by comfort. It needs meaning. It needs mystery. It needs depth. And that depth, that aching sacred depth, is what modern life has taught us to fear. Because depth cannot be scheduled. It cannot be sold. It cannot be optimized. It is wild. It is raw. It is alive. And we are no longer taught how to live. We are taught how to function, how to appear successful, how to manage image, how to accumulate symbols of worth, titles, metrics, credentials. But meaning? Meaning is inconvenient. It does not fit into a calendar. It does not translate into algorithms. It does not ask for your productivity. It asks for your presence. And presence is a dying art. We are too busy, too distracted, too afraid to sit in silence long enough to hear what our lives are really telling us. That the jobs we work don't align with who we are. That the relationships we're in no longer reflect our truth. That the goals we chase aren't even ours. That the mask we wear has fused to our skin. And the worst part, we know it in our bones, that this isn't it, that something essential has been lost, that our ancestors had less but they felt more connection, more reverence, more soul, because they hadn't yet traded reality for simulation. They hadn't yet built entire lives in digital cages. They hadn't yet confused attention for intimacy or aesthetics for depth. We are the most distracted generation in human history. Not because we're lazy, but because we're terrified. Terrified of facing the truth in the silence. That we've built towers with no foundation. That we've climbed ladders, leaned against the wrong walls. That we've performed so long we've forgotten who we were before the performance. Carl Jung warned us. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And this is what modern life offers: endless distraction from the soul. But the soul does not go away. It waits, patient, persistent, painful, because it does not want your success. It wants your attention. And attention is the new currency of the sacred. To give your full attention, not to a screen, but to a moment, to a person, to your own heart. That is rebellion. That is how you begin to reclaim your life. Because you are not tired from doing too much. You are tired from doing too little that actually matters. From trading your aliveness for approval. From mistaking motion for meaning. From confusing visibility with value. But underneath the exhaustion, there is a truth. A longing, a memory of who you were before you were tamed, of the part of you that still remembers how to feel, how to love without performance, how to be without comparison, how to create without needing applause. That part of you is not gone. It is buried beneath 1,000 unspoken compromises. And it is waiting for you to stop, to listen, to wake up. Because this dull ache, this quiet despair, it is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. And the only way out is into the silence, into the discomfort, into the places you've been trained to avoid. You've been conditioned to fear stillness, because in stillness there are no filters, no achievements, no distractions. There is only you, the unedited, unoptimized you, the one who aches, the one who questions, the one who knows something essential has been lost. And the tragedy is not that you feel this emptiness. The tragedy is that you think it's normal. Because the modern world has normalized the unnatural. It has taught us to adapt to dysfunction, to call burnout hustle, to call isolation independence, to call anxiety ambition. But your nervous system was not designed to endure this constant stimulation. Your spirit was not meant to be measured in metrics. Your worth is not found in how well you keep up with a machine. You are not a machine. You are soil. You are breath. You are story. You are soul. But the machine does not value soul. It values output. And when you stop producing, it leaves you behind. So you keep going, even when your body begs you to rest, even when your heart pleads for meaning, even when your dreams begin to rot inside the cage of your obligations. But that rot, that sickness you feel in the pit of your being, it is not weakness. It is truth trying to survive. It is your soul staging a rebellion against a life that does not nourish it. And that rebellion is holy, because you were not made to endure life. You were made to engage it, to feel it, to break with it, to rise with it, to let it shape you, undo you, awaken you. But none of that can happen until you stop running. Because as long as you're chasing the money, the status, the praise, you are fleeing the very thing that could heal you. Presence. The presence to see your own shadow, to feel your own hunger, to grieve the life you thought would fulfill you but didn't. And when that grief comes, and it will come, don't numb it. Don't repackage it as productivity. Don't disguise it as a bad week. Let it move through you. Because that emptiness is not a flaw in you. It is a signal, a sacred alarm bell, telling you, this isn't it. This was never it. The emails, the likes, the salary, the scrolling, they were a pacifier for the real hunger. And the real hunger is for meaning, for connection, for beauty that breaks you, for truth that sets you on fire. And that fire, that wild ancient fire, it still burns in you, but it cannot be found in convenience. It cannot be bought or taught or hacked. It must be earned through descent, through choosing to feel when it would be easier to numb, through choosing to tell the truth when it would be easier to perform, through choosing to step away from the noise into the holy silence of your own soul. That is where your life begins again, not with a breakthrough, but with a breaking, and that breaking is not the end. It is the beginning of something sacred, something real, something that cannot be digitized or monetized or sold. Yourself. Because when you finally arrive at yourself, stripped of persona, detached from performance, what you find is not weakness, it's power. The kind of power that doesn't scream, doesn't sell, doesn't beg for validation. The kind of power that is rooted, silent, immovable. And that's what modern life has tried to sever you from your roots. It's pulled you up by the soul, repotted you in concrete, fed you synthetic sunshine in the form of likes and fleeting dopamine, and called it success. But you are not thriving. You are surviving in a world that has confused disconnection for freedom, a word that offers you every tool to distract from pain, but no map to alchemize it. And that's where the emptiness comes from. Not from failure, but from falsehood, from wearing a mask for so long. You forgot you had a face underneath. From chasing a life that looked good from the outside, but feels like a slow death on the inside. You feel it when you laugh and there's no joy. When you rest and there's no peace. When you succeed and there's still something missing. Because there's only one thing worse than failing. It's getting everything you thought you wanted and realizing it was never what your soul needed. And now you know. You can't unknow it. The moment awareness cracks through your shell, it demands transformation. Not overnight, not through some sudden awakening, but moment by moment, choice, by daring to live in a way the world doesn't understand. A way that values depth over speed, presence over productivity, truth over image, meaning over metrics. It will not be easy. You will have to learn how to be still in a world addicted to motion. You will have to feel everything you once numbed, the grief, the anger, the loneliness, the regret. You will have to walk away from the comfort of the known into the terrifying wilderness of your own truth. But that wilderness, that sacred exile, is where your soul will meet you again. It's where you remember how to listen, not with your ears, but with your being, to the wind, to the silence, to the hunger in your belly that no app can satisfy. And when you remember how to listen, you'll remember how to live. Not for likes, not for legacy, but for truth. Because truth, when finally tasted, makes all the empty pleasures of this world lose their flavor. It ruins you for the fake, for the shallow, for the unaligned. And in that ruin, you are reborn. Not polished, not perfect, but whole. The kind of whole the world can't give you and can never take away. The kind of whole that is grounded, gritty, and unshakably yours. Not a performance, not a projection, but a reclamation. And that reclamation is not loud. It is quiet. It is sacred. It is the slow, steady return to a life that means something. You'll begin to speak differently. Not to be heard, but to be honest. Not to impress, but to express. Not to fill the silence, but to let the silence breathe through your words. Because when your life becomes aligned, your voice no longer echoes someone else's script. It becomes your own language, raw, unrefined, and unmistakably real. And realness is rare because it cannot be manufactured. It cannot be scheduled into content calendars. It cannot be duplicated through formulas. It is earned through pain, through clarity, through the courage to lose everything that was never really yours. And that's the paradox, isn't it? The more of the world you lose, the more of your soul you find. The more illusions you burn, the clearer your path becomes. The more masks you shed, the more you start to recognize your own reflection, not as a brand, not as a product, but as a soul ancient, aching, and finally awake. And once you're awake, the old life, the shallow life, no longer fits. It doesn't feel like home, because it never was. You stop needing the noise to drown your doubts. You stop needing the grind to validate your existence. You stop needing to keep up with a world that's sprinting toward nowhere. Instead, you begin to live in rhythm with the pulse of the present, with the wisdom of your wounds, with the gravity of your purpose. You walk slower, but every step lands with truth. You speak softer, but your words hit deeper. You do less, but everything you touch carries more weight. Because you are no longer powered by performance. You are moved by alignment. You are guided not by what the world expects, but by what your soul demands. And that demand, that sacred call, it is not asking you to rise. It is asking you to return to your body, to your breath, to your own knowing. The part of you that remembers, even in the egg, that you are not here to keep up. You are here to wake up. And waking up doesn't mean escaping modern life. It means piercing through it with clarity, living inside it with presence, and moving through it with such truth that everything false begins to fall away. Because you've stopped chasing what they told you would fulfill you. And you've started listening to what was whispering inside you all along. And that whisper, once faint, once fragile, becomes your anthem. It is not loud. It doesn't shout over crowds. But it is unrelenting. And it speaks in a language the soul remembers. This is not who you are. This is not why you came. You were made for something deeper. And when you finally surrender to that voice, not the voice of your conditioning, not the voice of the market, but the voice beneath the noise, you begin to live on purpose. Not for a paycheck, not for performance, but for the pulse of something ancient moving through you. You start to move like a storm that's found its center. Calm, fierce, precise. Every action a prayer. Every decision a ritual of alignment. Because you are no longer seduced by speed. You are no longer hijacked by scarcity. You are no longer addicted to the applause of strangers. You belong to truth now. And that belonging changes everything. It changes the way you love, not from need, but from fullness. It changes the way you work, not for recognition, but for reverence. It changes the way you suffer, not as punishment, but as passage. And it changes the way you see, not through the lens of comparison, but through the clear-eyed vision of one who remembers what matters. You stop scrolling past your own life. You stop chasing things that hollow you out. You stop apologizing for wanting something real. A conversation without distraction, a day without urgency, a purpose without pretense. Because this isn't about escaping modern life. It's about redeeming it, reclaiming your sacred space inside a system that profits from your disconnection. And the greatest rebellion you can wage is to live awake inside of it, to feel everything, to slow down, to choose depth when everything urges you to stay surface, to carry your soul like a torch through a world that's gone numb, to breathe like a goddamn symphony in a culture addicted to noise. That's how it ends. Not with a bang, not with a breakdown, but with a decision to stop performing, to stop pretending, to stop sleepwalking through a life you were meant to feel, and to begin, at last, the sacred work of remembering who you were before the world told you what to want. And when you remember really, remember, everything that once felt hollow will begin to fill, not from outside, but from within, from the place in you that was never empty, only waiting to be heard. And once you hear it, truly hear it, you cannot go back. You will try. There will be days where the old life calls to you like a siren. The comforts, the distractions, the carefully curated cages. They will whisper, it was easier there. And yes, it was easier. But easier was killing you. Because you weren't made for easy. You were made for real. You were made for the kind of life that breaks you open just to fill you with something holy. And holy doesn't mean perfect. It means whole. It means unfiltered, unguarded, and undeniable. It means walking into your day with your soul intact, not buried under 1,000 silent compromises. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about peeling back the noise until all that remains is you, the unnameable you, the unmarketable you, the you that cannot be bought, sold, or replicated, the you that feels like home. And when you live from that place, the world will try to pull you out of it. It will tempt you with recognition. It will pressure you with urgency. It will test you with fear. But you'll know deep in your marrow that those are illusions, because you've tasted truth. And truth ruins you for anything less. So now, when you work, it's not to prove. When you speak, it's not to perform. When you rest, it's not to recover from burnout. It's because you revere your body, because you finally understand this life is not a game to be won. It's a sacred rhythm to be felt, a divine presence to be honored. You don't need more strategy. You need more stillness. You don't need more validation. You need more vision. Not the kind that chases the future, but the kind that stands rooted in the now, alert, awake, aligned. Because when you are fully here, not scattered, not reaching, not seeking, you become unstoppable, not because of what you do, but because of what you no longer allow. You no longer allow what drains your spirit. You no longer allow what insults your truth. You no longer allow a life that demands you trade your essence for acceptance. Because now you know the real cost of fitting in is never fully belonging to yourself. And that's what this journey has always been about. Not success, not image, not perfection, but belonging to your breath, to your body, to your soul, to the wild, untamed truth of what you came here to become. And that truth is not empty. It is everything. Everything you were starving for was never out there. It wasn't in the praise. It wasn't in the paychecks. It wasn't in the perfection of your image. It was always inside, buried beneath the noise, waiting in the stillness, pulsing in your chest like a forgotten drumbeat. And now, you've heard it. You've remembered. That sacred rhythm, slow, steady, real, is what modern life tried to make you forget. It fed you speed instead of presence, distraction instead of direction, performance instead of purpose. But now you move differently. You wake up not to rush, but to return to this moment, to this breath, to this wildly imperfect, brutally beautiful now. And it's here, in the raw presence of your life, that the emptiness begins to fade. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. You've stopped asking life to fulfill you. You've started asking yourself to show up for life. And that changes everything. Because when you're present, you see clearly. There is meaning in the mundane. There is beauty in the cracks. There is divinity in the day you used to call ordinary. You were never meant to escape this world. You were meant to pierce through it with your presence, to carry depth in a shallow time, to walk slow in a culture of haste, to live soulfully in a system built for sleepwalkers. This is your rebellion. Not loud, not angry, not dramatic, but rooted, clear, unapologetically away. You will not numb. You will not perform. You will not shrink. You will feel. You will choose. You will create. And in doing so, you will awaken something ancient in others. They won't know what it is at first. They'll just feel it, your stillness, your clarity, your refusal to live a hollow life. And it will call to them like a forgotten language, like the scent of something real. Because nothing is more magnetic than a soul that's no longer starving. You become a reminder, a mirror, a fire, that this life, this moment, is not a dress rehearsal. It is sacred. It is fleeting, and it is yours. So live it, not for approval, not for applause, not for the illusion of arrival. Live it for the truth of your breath, for the whisper of your soul, for the feeling that finally, you are no longer empty. You are here. You are whole. You are home. And now, with every illusion dissolved, with silence no longer an enemy but a guide, you realize what you've been searching for all along was never out there. Not in recognition, not in applause, not in speed, perfection, or achievement, but within you, in this breath, in this moment, in this quiet return, not loud, not grand, but deep, grounded, and achingly real. You no longer live to attain something. You live to be someone, your true self, not the version others will like, not the identity the world finds comfortable, but your raw, original soul, honest, whole, and unbound. And when you live like that, you don't need to be enough to feel full. You don't need to be successful to feel worthy. You don't need to be understood to know that you are living a life that matters. The emptiness fades, not because you filled it, but because you stopped running from it. You turned back, you faced it, you entered it, and inside it, you found a door, and behind that door was you. Not the you on social media, not the you your family, job, or culture expected, but you, true, alive, and free. That is the end of emptiness, and the beginning of a life lived with real meaning.